to introduce the team. It is a WISeKey team. So first of all, introduce David Ferguson. He's a non-executive member of the board of WISeKey, based in New York. And very predominant figure in the New York merchant acquisition scene. He's the CEO of merchant M&A advisors. James, or WISeKey US representative. He will later say a few words about what he's doing here in the United States. Peter, our CFO, and myself, Carlos Moreira. I am the founder and CEO of WISeKey. So just to, the presentation today is part of the non-deal roadshow that WISeKey has started in the United States. Actually, last week we were in China. We just came to the three of us from China last week, and this is going to continue in different places in Europe. So we're introducing WISeKey to the international community. WISeKey is very well known, originally in Switzerland, as we are based in Geneva, and obviously in Europe, but because the technology is so hot and the sector is growing so fast, which is the intersection between IoT, cybersecurity, and cryptocurrencies all in one package, the company now is getting a huge traction everywhere, and I think it's a good time for us to be able to introduce the company in the United States. And obviously, particularly here in this environment, as WISeKey is now on the OTC. And by the way, we'd like to thank you for all the great work you guys have done in the last month and a half to make that possible. So
we're delighted to host you, and thank you very much. So good luck on a great presentation.
Thank you very much. So now is a good time also, because that will obviously allow WISeKey to really be physically in the United States. So maybe a few words about myself. I founded WISeKey in '99. Before that, I was the Chief Security Officer of the United Nations in Geneva. So for you, maybe you don't know, but Geneva is a very important city in the history of the internet, as the World Wide Web, the web, as we know, was developed in Geneva, was invented in Geneva by Tim Berners-Lee when he was a research person in CERN, which is the nuclear research laboratory in Geneva. And I was at that time working on the United Nations data centers, and we were really at the beginning of the web. The first node of the web started in Geneva. The second one was my node in the United Nations, and after spread to the rest of the world, and now has become what it is now, a $10 trillion infrastructure on the top of it. Everything runs on that. Amazon, Microsoft, Yahoo, Facebook, Apple, everything runs on that invention. It's amazing when we really realized that it was only 25 years ago.
So it wasn't Al Gore.
Yeah. Al Gore was actually the internet, which is based on the ARPANET. And he was actually misunderstood on that sentence, but obviously the ARPANET and the internet is a US invention. And the blend of both, the blend of the hardware, which is the internet, and the software, which is the web, has created this amazing human invention that has disrupted technology. So during 15 years, I was working with the UN as the Chief Security Officer. My job was to secure critical infrastructure from the UN itself to organizations such as the International Criminal Court, the World Internet Property, the World Trade Organization, all those, IATA, all those organizations were secured by us. So do you have something to cross, or yeah, is there? Oh, is there? So in '99, I left the UN, and in collaboration with the Swiss banks, we created WISeKey. WISeKey means World Internet Secure Key. So basically, it is the possibility to bring encryption to the internet. The internet and the web, when they started, was only a way to communicate very fast and unstructured data, such HTTP and connecting websites. But the web and the internet were not very good in terms of encryption or identity or even security at all. I mean, the idea of the web was to make things very simple and very fast to communicate it, but not at all to become anything as it is today, where banks and governments and IoT and sensors, everything sits on the top of the internet. It was not the original design. So at that time, we thought somebody has to secure the internet from ground zero. It's not going to do an app or a patch. You have to go down into the foundations of the internet. So that's what we call WISeKey. WISeKey was a headquarters in Geneva, and it was a joint venture between myself and 12 Swiss banks. That obviously Swiss banks are highly attacked every day because it's a financial hub, and hackers of the world would love to hack the Swiss bank. So they needed an extra layer of security, which was not at that time available, and we created basically WISeKey. That's how the company started. The company focused very much, during the private life of the company, as a private company, we raised $200 million in different rounds of financing. And we got a very interesting blend of both institutional investors and private investors. Inside WISeKey, you have companies like Symantec as a shareholder, but you also have the who's who on the Swiss financial sector that they are investors in WISeKey. The company is still very much controlled by management, so it's a company that did not have to bring VCs or anybody that will disrupt our views on how we wanted to deploy the company. The company is listed on the Swiss stock exchange, and it's trading between 150 to $100 million in market cap, which is actually one of the, I would say, it's not because it's the company I run, a very interesting investment target, because it's very hard to see a cybersecurity IoT mid-cap company trading in the United States at that valuation, especially when we know that the WISeKey is $60 million and we're trading at 2.5 times revenue. So just a positioning on the company and the big opportunity, because if you compare that to companies in the United States, you will see a totally different ratios. The company also started in 2008, started to enter into the objects. Before we were only in the identity for people. We were securing e-voting. You know, e-voting in Switzerland is done by us. Swiss people vote online and with their mobile phones with WISeKey technology. We also started to develop application for Microsoft, which is called identity management. And in 2008, we started with watches, because Switzerland produces 25 million luxury watches, the best watches of the world, which are also the most counterfeited watches of the world. You know, for 25 million watches we produce, we actually have 250 million copies of it. So we started to develop technology that makes those watches impossible to counterfeit. And then we started to introduce microchips into watches. That's how IoT started, because those microchips makes the watch unique and allows the watch to be connected to the internet. So WISeKey in 2008, they started to say, hey, maybe all the security that we have developed for people and processes can also be embedded into products. And we were the first company in the world doing that, you know. So we were the first company putting a very high-grade cybersecurity into a chip, and the chip into an object. Other companies were doing chips, other companies were doing cybersecurity, but none of them, they were integrating both. So now WISeKey has an amazing diversification of clients. Those are clients that goes from Daimler. We are putting chips on smart cards, and they have a huge amount of electronics, and it's very easy to hack cars, because you can go through the OS, and through the OS go into the car itself. We have pharmaceutical products. 50% of the pharmaceutical products on the internet are fake products, so we are putting microchips and digital identities at the pharma, at the packaging level. We have projects like telcos, where we are now securing mobile phones as the microchips of the WISeKey microchip, what we call the WISeKey, was actually the chip that the BlackBerry had it. BlackBerry has it. BlackBerry chip, which was very unique and very secure, had a microchip, and that was one of the uniqueness of sending data to the centralized nodes. And this is the chip now that WISeKey is using for many other products. We are working with companies like SAP, using WISeKey on their IoT platform. Medtronics, as implanted devices can be hacked. Imagine somebody hacking your pacemaker and basically killing the person. So implanted devices need now security. And basically 25 billion objects already connected to the internet needs for security, and this is going to 1 trillion objects by the year 2035. So the need of security is going to be amazing in the next years to come. So we believe that WISeKey is a very hot company, because, as I say, it's serving a very high and large ecosystem. And this ecosystem is getting bigger and bigger. When you put a chip on a car and you put security, not only you secure the car and you secure the communications of that car with the OS, but also the data. This car is producing a lot of the data, and that data is collected in clouds, and that data is as a huge value for both the manufacturer of the car and anyone that wants to run analytical research on the data for artificial intelligence. So we produce a lot of data because we have many chips. WISeKey has already deployed 1.2 billion chips in the history of the company. Core technology, which is applicable to many areas. I mean, anything that is moving to the internet, what we call now Industry 4. I don't know if you're familiar with Industry 4, but Industry 4 started in Germany, now it's in South Korea, maybe soon in North Korea. It's an industry where very highly manufactured countries like Japan, Korea, so Germany, some places in the United States, they need to have high-level security because their entire cities, their entire objects are connected to the internet. For the time being, the only thing that's connected to the internet is mobile phones and few pilot projects. But in a few years, everything will be connected to the internet. So imagine the hackers of the world, what level of damage could create if these connectors to the internet are not secure. And for that, you need a chip. So this shows the evolution. Normally, these companies, they started to make revenue in 2008, and now this is going exponential. We are talking now about 50 billion objects, because in 2008, you only have some hardware like laptops or mobile phones, and they were connected, where now you're connecting sensors, cameras, air conditioning machines, batteries, car, everything is connected to the internet. So everything needs an identity, everything needs a chip. And this is the DNA of the company WISeKey, providing to every single object one identity, so it becomes unique, and providing a chip where you can store that identity. So the business model of WISeKey is very simple. It's like a razor and a blade. The chip is the razor. We sell you a razor. You keep it for a while, and then you have to buy blades all the time because the blade gets used. The same model applies to the cybersecurity software. You buy a chip, but then you have to buy, and that creates recurring revenue for the company. You have to buy the software as the software keeps protecting that chip endlessly. So WISeKey has also integrated other players in Europe. You know, Covadis is like DigiCert in the US. It is a company that now is growing very fast, which is owned 100% by WISeKey, because GDPR, I'm sure you are familiar with GDPR. GDPR is the new legislation in Europe protecting personal data of users. And you know, the only way you can protect the data of user is by providing the user with a digital identity, a digital certificate, and encrypt their data all the way up to the cloud. So the user will decide whether or not they is willing to share the data with anybody. And if they want to share the data, it will be at conditions to be defined by the user. So this company makes $25 million just doing that, just selling security for people, which is not being applied also at the chip level, the semiconductor level. So just showing the sectors on where this market, and this is some information about the market. You have many. Those are the areas where you have to be in order to become a major player in cybersecurity IoT nowadays. You have to be on the authentication layer, you have to be on the encryption layer, you have to be on the PKI, which means public infrastructure. So PKI is like companies like RSA, like Symantec, like Entrust in the United States, like WISeKey, and they own their own root of trust, their own cryptographic key, the foundational key where everything starts from. And then you have security analytics, and this is a big market, but security analytics doesn't start if you don't solve the three problems before. Because analytics is based on artificial intelligence, and AI needs data. Without data, AI cannot function. And AI, in our case, is being fed by the identities and the data we collect on the three first layers. And this is I mean, there's several analysts in the room, so you know very well how fast is growing this IoT sector, but also the issues of the IoT sector that cannot scale if you don't solve the cybersecurity problems. IoT without cybersecurity doesn't work. And that's why in some countries, IoT is not growing as fast as it could. So here you have the where we sit on the landscape. So obviously you have many big legacy companies. You have Qualcomm, Samsung, those companies are much bigger than we are, but they are only in one area of the entire landscape on IoT. In order to be what you call the platform, the IoT platform of the future, you have to have presence in each of those verticals. So you need to have your own root of trust, which is something that WISeKey has, 3.6 billion installations already of the root of trust. So this is the foundational piece of software that needs to be embedded into all your hardware in order to the hardware recognize your keys. All your mobile phones, all your laptops, all your computers have already WISeKey inside. We don't have to do that anymore. And this has been done during the years of WISeKey. Then you have the certification authority, means you are able to issue identities to everything you produce. And in that, in the United States, the only company that provides that is Symantec now, as an integrated company. Then you have the certification management, then you have the secure communication layer, then you have the provisioning, and all the way down into the microchips. So you have microchip companies, then they are now talking to WISeKey, saying, okay, we have the chip, but we don't have the root of trust, we don't have the cybersecurity element. Do you want to sell that to us? And the beauty is that the WISeKey does not need any of those players. We can go to the market with an integrated end-to-end solution. And this is very unique in the market. Even the markup of WISeKey is not as exciting as will be the markup of Qualcomm. This development of being able to provide an entire platform is a huge asset for the future in terms of potential growth for the company. So that's a bit more technical for the technical people in this event. Is that, as you see, more things are getting connected to the internet, and those IoT devices need to be processed and trusted by something. You cannot just imagine that you bought a new car and you want to connect your car to your fridge in the house because you want your car to update your OS on the fridge. You want security there. Imagine your cameras in your house, you want to install cameras, but you don't have security on those cameras. Everything needs to have a chip, everything needs to have an identity. So that is going through a processing center. This is like a massive switch that connects all devices. Check the device has the right protocol, the right identity, and if it does, let you do things with it. You know? And this is the same thing that we do, for instance, with a MasterCard. You pay, you have to wait a few seconds, MasterCard checks, then you have the credit, and your card has not been stolen. Then you have the right to do that transaction, and after it comes back to you, and then you perform the transaction. The same thing, but with billions of objects connected to the internet. So this is the way, and again, it's very technical, but this is the way how the building blocks integrated. So the vision of WISeKey was that if you have an identity and you have a chip, and you put the identity on a ledger, a blockchain ledger, anyone that have access to the ledger can go and check whether that identity is valid or not. So we don't need to store that in closed databases that nobody will know how to access. And that's what makes very exciting the WISeKey story, not only in Europe, but in China or in Saudi Arabia, because they want to control the data. Every country says, I don't mind to connect all my objects to the internet. I don't mind to put your identities on those objects and your chips, but the data is mine. I don't want my data to go to another country. And WISeKey allows that to happen through that integration with the identity and blockchain technology. So those are the sectors. People sometimes say, okay, but where are you in terms of sector? Where are the sectors that really use your technology? And this is the category. So we have 200 banks in Germany already using WISeKey. You have